James, man. These the callers that I got off YouTube. I'm gonna go and check it out. I'm about to go to their country to find out if they live it or not. Hope no YouTuber blocked that. I don't know if it's this a YouTube channel or news record that. If it is, I'm not to steal your identity and stuff. I just wanted to show everybody that I want to go there and just to remind everybody to go there because I don't know if that it came out back then. I just didn't check is it still living. So don't delete this, please. Thank you, and here you go.
Some adrenaline?
No, God!
You want to lose your breath? Feel goosebumps?
No, God, please, no! No!
Don't feel scared even sitting in your favorite chair?
No!
Well, excellent. Because especially for you, we have the coolest and craziest rides from around the world. So, are you ready to feel scared and start screaming? Then let's get it on.
No!
500-foot high bridge. In China, people love extreme bridges. You've probably heard about one of them, made of glass, which every year scares a lot of impressionable tourists. But it seems that we managed to find something better. Of course, this bridge is much shorter than its 300-meter-long.
There's nothing blocking the holes.
Not
glass, nothing.
Every daredevil who decides to walk on this bridge is protected by insurance, and this is not a superfluous measure. The fact is that you will have to walk at an altitude of 200 meters, and sometimes even jump. The beams that make up the bridge are located at different distances, from 50 to 120 centimeters. Can you jump more than a meter knowing that there's an abyss under you, even if it's covered by fog? Believe me, it seems easy only on the video, because even the most coolest tourists here sometimes give up their nerves to the altitude. One wrong move and you're already flying down. It's not a long fly, of course, thanks to the safety line. Some, by the way, are so scared to cross the bridge that they go in pairs. Well, they stand in pairs, and there is a real risk of losing your shoes, and the insurance is not buying you a new pair. X-Screen. Arriving in Las Vegas, you can play with your nerves, not only by making a few bets in the casino or reenacting the story of The Hangover. If this is not your kind of entertainment and you want
a little commercial.
Call 1-800-404-6871 or visit GoLifeLock.com. Use promo code 30 today to get your 30 days.
Something really frightening. And here is the X-Screen, one of the most extreme rides. 164 meters of absolute emptiness and a chic view of life. Most likely will not be enjoying the landscape or taking selfies. Forget about the likes on Instagram. The open trolley for 8 people seems firm, but once the adrenaline lovers are inside, the car suddenly breaks down, practically sliding off the rails. Don't worry, the traction will stop on time, but only in order to raise the trailer and then again throwing you into the abyss. Then several times more. Just try not to scream. Everyone knows about ordinary surfing, but what about surfing a volcano? The answer to your obvious question, no. Lovers of this sport do not conquer waves of lava on their ultra-strength boards. They simply descend on an active volcano. This is possible only in several parts of the world. One of those places is in Nicaragua, in the department of Leon, where lovers of volcanic surfing come down the slope volcano the Cerro Negro, whose height reaches 728 meters. This 150-year-old active volcano erupted about 23 times, and less than 20 years have passed since the last eruption. Under the layer of coal black slag, you can even feel the heat of the fiery mountain, but there is no time to touch the pebbles. The sportsmen ride their boards, usually of metal or wood, firmly grasping a rope, and whee! The angle of inclination of the slope is almost 45 degrees, allowing you to reach a speed of 86 kilometers per hour. By the way, the organizers of such entertainment claim that the most common injury
Anne and I no longer live together, or at least speak to each other. There's a school out there that brings learning to life. Lighthouse Connections Academy uses technology to foster real learning and collaboration. Personalized, flexible, future-ready, led by teachers who raise the bar, brings school to life.
But if you do, you should go.
During volcanic surfing is a mild rash, like an allergy to the volcano. The rider going down the hill at high speed raised a bunch of fine dust and stones that can irritate the skin, so it's best to keep your mouth shut. But they say that the impressions of volcano surfing are simply stunning. Would you like a ride? Furious Baco. A roller coaster. What could be surprising about a roller coaster? Now, but don't jump to conclusions. The Spanish attraction Furious Baco is unique in its own way. It was the fastest in Europe until August 2009, and although today has already lost this title, the attraction still surprises fans of extreme emotions. How about the ability to accelerate from 0 to 135 kilometers per hour in just 3 seconds? The acceleration exceeds even the acceleration of gravity. For 850 meters, the are rushing, diving into the tunnels, leaning dangerously, and almost immersing themselves in the water of the lake. Take care of your feet. By the way, instead of the usual wagons, the creators constructed a slightly different moving element, and people literally fly through the air. What do you think? How many shoes did tourists lose on the Furious Baco in its 12 years of existence? Zip World Velocity. Flying over an abyss is quite a scary activity, but what about flying with your head forwards and your hands tightly pressed to your body? By the way, this kind of entertainment can be tried in Wales in the UK. Careful instructors will tie you with a bunch of safety belts, show you what to hold on to, and in an instant, you're no longer a human, but a rocket instead. A supersonic warhead if you want. Fortunately, the helmet also comes with a special flying costume, and on the way you won't meet a single wall. Probably. Everyone who wishes to fly over the mountains of Wales is offered special glasses, and to refuse them is a very bad idea.
I realize that I'm okay. And I would feel good about myself. I feel so far away. Megan.
The fact is that on this attraction you can accelerate to 161 kilometers per hour, and your eyes probably won't like it very much. But the views are awesome. True, there will be little time to enjoy them. The whole flight lasts a minute.
I'm back. A break. A couple second break. 1 minute.
Although the distance exceeds 1.5 kilometers, that's what speed means. Pterodactyl. You probably know that adrenaline lovers would do anything, even travel around the world in search of adrenaline. If you are one of those persons, here's one place that will make your hair go straight. The attraction Pterodactyl guarantees tons of adrenaline for your satisfaction. This extreme place is in the Winds Mountain Park Cave in Manitou Springs, Colorado, where you can enjoy an epic 200-foot free fall in the Williams Canyon. So, are you ready?
No, Jesus Christ.
To begin with, you'll be raised to a tremendous height on the edge of a cliff, and then launch at a speed of about 100 miles per hour. Whee! And don't let the name scare you away. Despite the fact that it looks like a known kind of dinosaur, the attraction is absolutely safe, as reliable anchorages will not let you slip out at the peak of emotional stress. By the way, during extreme skiing, you can enjoy the views of the canyon and appreciate their beauty. Well, if you're conscious, of course. Roller coaster zipline. What would happen if you mix a trolley and a roller coaster, and then put the results somewhere in the forest and show it to tourists? It'd look like the roller coaster zipline. True, this unusual attraction doesn't have a death loop, of course, but you can get a lot of adrenaline without it. Firstly, the speed of movement is considerable, and secondly, there are trees all around, and you can tell yourself as much as you like that the track is surely calculated so that no one crashes into anything and you have a solid helmet on your head, but it's not.
Ow, that gotta hurt. Never try that. If your helmet fall off, hell with that.
Not easy to deceive the brain, and don't forget about sudden climbs, during which you'll be thrown up and down at high speed. The falls aren't very scary and the height isn't very large, but what an effect. It's very difficult to unclench your hands, and in this case you have insurance, but just imagine the awareness, a great attraction. Royal Rush Sky Coaster. The Royal Rush Sky Coaster is located in the state of Colorado over the Royal Gorge, on top of the Arkansas River. The height of the attraction above the ground is 30 meters, and over the canyon is over 350 meters. So why are we telling you all these terrible numbers? Well, the fact is that those who want to get a portion of adrenaline are firmly fixed, then raised with the help of a special mechanism, and down they go.
Oh my gosh!
At the most unexpected moment, you experience freefall right above the gorge. But fortunately, a strong cable keeps the fans of extreme sports alive, and they swing over the abyss at a speed of up to 80 kilometers per hour. They say that it's a less terrible version of the classic bungee jumping. Wait, less terrible? Really? Flight in weightlessness. Each of us at least once flew in a dream and woke up with the feeling that it would be great to experience something like that in reality. Alas, no one has neither the abilities of Superman nor the magical dust of Tinkerbell, but we'll tell you a secret. In fact, you can fly without any fantastic gizmos. There is a real chance to soar in the air in a state of the most real cosmic weightlessness, generated on an airplane laboratory. No magic, just the most ordinary physics. To catch the state of weightlessness, the airplane, as it were, goes up and down a hill in the air, and inside the cabin for a short time, all items lose their weight, an unforgettable feeling.
This is a real-life lore video made possible by Skillshare, home to 16,000 classes that could teach you a new life skill. The first 500 people to sign up using the link in the description will get a 2-month free trial. So at some point in their lives, nearly everybody has wanted to dig a hole down to the center of the earth. The only problem is, nobody ever has actually dug a hole down that far. This leads us to the question that this video is all about. If humanity decided that digging a hole was the #1 objective of our species, then how deep down could we actually dig with modern-day technology? Let's say that we start somewhere on the Earth's surface and just start digging from there. Not too far down at 1.8 meters, and we arrive at the standard grave depth in Western culture. So if you're afraid of zombies, this is how far down they'll be coming from. 4 meters down, and we arrive at the depth that Pharaoh Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered at. A little further, at 6 meters below the surface, we reach the maximum depth that metal detectors can pick up signals from. At 12 meters, we can find the deepest burrows dug by animals, the Nile crocodile. A little further down at 20 meters and we arrive at the depth of the Paris catacombs beneath the city of Paris, a tomb that holds the remains of over 6 million people. Double that distance to 40 meters down and we can see the deepest swimming pool in the world. If you drained this pool and jumped into it from the top, it would take nearly 3 seconds before you would hit the bottom. 100 meters down is the usual distance that governments bury their nuclear waste at. And just beneath that, at 105.5 meters down, is the deepest metro station in the world, located in Kiev. Moving on to 122 meters down, and we see the deepest known point that a plant's roots have ever reached, a fig tree in South Africa. 220 meters down, and we arrive at the deepest river in the world, the Congo River in Africa. Beyond that, at 240 meters, you can ride through the deepest railway tunnel in the world that connects the Japanese islands of Honshu and Hokkaido. But at 287 meters down, you can drive through the deepest road tunnel in the world in Norway. 305 meters down, and you would still be vulnerable to the B-82 Earth-penetrating nuclear warhead, which can destroy structures up to this depth beneath the surface. Incredibly though, at 392 meters, we arrive at the deepest well and possibly deepest hole ever dug by hand. This is the Woodingdean water well in the UK, and it was dug all the way back in 1862. At 603 meters down, we arrive at something terrifying, the deepest vertical drop inside of a cave. If you were unfortunate enough to be in this cave and fall down this hole, the fall would be higher up than falling from the top of the One World Trade Center in New York, and the fall would take you over 11 seconds before hitting the bottom. Even further down though, at 700 meters, is where the Chilean miners were trapped at for 69 days back in 2010. 970 meters down is the deepest hole ever dug that still has an open sky above it, the Bingham Canyon open pit mine in Utah. This pit is so deep that you could place the tallest building in the entire world in the center and still have over 100 more meters to the surface. Much further down at 1,410 meters though is where the deepest concert ever held happened by the band Agonizer in Finland. 1,642 meters down is the depth of the deepest lake on Earth, Lake Baikal in Russia, and 1,857 meters down is the deepest part of the Grand Canyon. The deepest known cave on Earth is located 2,197 meters beneath the surface in Georgia, but the deepest hole that you could actually fall into goes way deeper than even this. All the way down at 3,132 meters is the bottom of the Moab Katsong mine shaft in South Africa. Taking the elevator takes 4.5 minutes to reach the bottom, but if you fell into it from the top, it would take you 25 entire seconds for you to hit the bottom and think about what you've just done. Long enough to
How
receive
dumb is
and
that?
miss an entire phone call. Even further down at 3,600 meters is the deepest point that a multicellular organism has been found alive, this freaky looking worm. But human beings themselves have been even deeper than this. 4,000 meters down is the deepest part of the deepest mine on Earth, also located in South Africa. The trip from the surface down to the bottom takes over an hour to complete, and the temperature at the bottom can reach a sweltering 66 degrees Celsius. 6,000 meters is the average depth of the oceanic crust beneath the ocean floor. Way down at 8,848 meters is the height of Mount Everest if it were placed underground instead. 10,994 meters down is the bottom of the Marianas Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean. I already covered the depth of the ocean in another video, but unbelievably, humans have actually dug down significantly deeper than even this. For reference about what's next, 11,887 meters is the average altitude that a commercial airliner flies at. But deeper than that, at 12,262 meters is the depth of the Kola Super Deep Borehole, a project where the Soviet Union attempted to drill all the way through the Earth's crust. They only reached a third of the way there though, because the temperature at this depth reached 180 degrees Celsius, which was too hot for the drill to continue operating any further. The hole is also only 23 centimeters wide, so luckily you can't accidentally fall into it. If you dropped a quarter down the shaft though, it would take about 50 seconds before it hit the bottom. Recently, however, this depth has been surpassed by the Z44 Shavio oil and gas well, which has drilled down to a depth of 12,376 meters. That's the equivalent of stacking 15 Burj Khalifas on top of each other, and currently represents the deepest hole that humanity has ever dug. The crust, however, can extend down to 70,000 meters below the Earth's surface, and the planet's center is located 6,371 kilometers down. If the surface of the Earth is Lisbon, Portugal, and the planet's center is Astana, Kazakhstan, then humanity so far has just ventured this tiny, insignificant distance. A lot of you have asked me before what software I use to create these videos with and how I learned to do it. I mostly use Adobe After Effects and Adobe Photoshop, and I taught myself how to use both of them by watching tutorial videos online. I never went to college for animation, but you can teach yourself almost anything online today, and Skillshare is a perfect place to do that with truly professional and easily understandable classes. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with over 16,000 classes in animation, graphic design, video game design, photography, and many other subjects. You can take classes or even teach classes yourself, and premium memberships begin at around $10 a month for unlimited access to all of their courses. But the first 500 people to sign up with this link will get a 2-month free trial. In those next 2 months, you could easily learn a new skill that could help you start a new business or hobby just like I did with launching this channel. What skill have you been putting off learning recently? And what goal have you been wanting to complete but aren't sure you have the proper skills yet to achieve it? Why shouldn't you start now and sign up to Skillshare using the link below? It's free to try it out, so you have nothing to lose and a potential new life skill to gain. If you enjoyed the video that you just watched, then I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel here, and don't forget to hit the bell for updated videos. You can visit my Patreon by clicking here if you'd like to directly support the channel and vote on future video topics, and I hope to see you next Friday for another...
There's a school out there that brings learning to life. Great Lakes Cyber Academy uses technology to foster real learning and collaboration. Personalized, flexible, future-ready, led by teachers, bring school to life.
Some time at the beach can be a great way to spend an afternoon, but you have to take the bad with the good. And if you're a beachgoer, you know that plenty of junk can wash up on the shores. Sometimes, though, there among the usual cloths of seaweed and trash, the gentle tides will deposit something truly weird. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to wander into a surreal comedy, try putting yourself in the flip-flops of the people that have stumbled upon these finds, the strangest things to ever wash ashore. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is a favorite tourist destination, and its miles of beaches accommodate nearly 100,000 visitors a year. But 7-year-old Foster Frazier wasn't interested in lounging around the beach during his stay. Being an enormous fan of anything having to do with sharks, he was digging along a stream bed looking for teeth when he made the kind of find that would make a marine archaeologist green with envy. Young Foster dug up a 5-inch tooth bigger than his fist, which once belonged to a 50-foot terror of the seas, the megalodon shark, which has been extinct for 2.5 million years. Foster's parents at first took the tooth to be a sand-covered rock, but further inspection left them speechless, as Foster had stumbled across a specimen that often eludes even professional deep-sea fossil hunters. Even more strangely, the boy had previously told his parents that he would one day find such a tooth, and that God would tell him where to find it. So either Foster made a really lucky guess, or he has a direct line to the Almighty. The coasts of the Pacific Northwest are no strangers to large driftwood, often called drift logs, and powerful winds combine with high tides to relocate them from hilltops to beaches on a regular basis. But in 2010, a specimen washed ashore that was just a little bit bigger than your average drift log, an absolute monster of a tree of the type regularly found deep in the forest. The driftwood wasn't measured, but it dwarfs this 6-foot-tall woman and would have towered perhaps 200 feet in the air when upright. The type of perfect storm required to rip this beast from the ground, float it down a swollen river, and wash it up on the shore is tough to imagine. But you may have heard that the Northwest has some wacky weather patterns. Well, here's the ridiculously huge proof. For centuries, the giant squid was nothing but a myth. They were first described over 2,000 years ago, and they probably contributed to the ancient legend of the Kraken, which was common among mariners. Specimens began to be recovered in the 1800s, but the first modern living specimen was captured in 2004, and strandings on beaches are very uncommon. So residents of the Spanish village of Cantabria were understandably shocked to find one of the 30-foot monsters washed up on their local beach one day in the fall of 2013. Strangely, underwater photographer Enrique Telledo happened to be nearby and managed to get some pictures of the type that he probably never thought he'd take on dry land. The 400-pound blob was moved to the town's Maritime Museum, where it can fascinate and freak out the locals for years to come. A British couple having a stroll along Middleton Sands Beach made a very unusual, smelly, and profitable discovery one day in April 2016. At first glance, it could be mistaken for a strange whitish rock, but Gary and Angela Williams recognized it at once for what it was: a huge lump of ambergris, which is essentially whale vomit. Gary described the smell as a cross between squid and farmyard manure, but oddly enough, the substance is coveted in the perfume industry, and it's very expensive. It originates in the digestive tracts of sperm whales, who eject it into the sea when they're sick. Once allowed to dry and age, its distinctive foul odor changes to more of an earthy scent, lending to its use in perfumes and colognes. The lump found by the Williams was estimated to be worth up to 50,000 pounds, or about 70,000 American dollars. A pretty stinky way to come up on a huge payday, but we doubt they're complaining. Kelly Gravel of Wales says her family was fascinated by the object that washed up during their visit to the beach in 2015. The large round metal ball was covered top to bottom in barnacles, and they took it to be a buoy, of the kind that washes up in the area with some frequency. They took pictures of their kids playing around with the thing, posted a few shots to social media, and forgot about it, until a friend alerted them to a Facebook post explaining what it really was. Pembroke County Park had posted to its official account that the buoy was actually a United States military mine, a World War II era explosive which could very well still be active. The news came as a complete shock to the Gravel family, whose children had literally been playing with a bomb, and they went to watch when the mine was detonated in a controlled explosion by the local bomb squad. It certainly could have turned out a lot worse, especially considering the fact that the authorities didn't discover and identify the object until 5 days after the Gravel's discovery. Giant squids are one thing, but an Aberdeen couple think that they found a sea monster carcass of a non-invertebrate variety during a walk along the beach in 2011. The 30-foot animal had an intact tail, skull, and teeth, and while it certainly had a prehistoric look to it, nobody is sure exactly what it was to this day. Some have suggested that it was the partially decayed carcass of a pilot whale, while others have gone the complete opposite route and declared that it must have been a plesiosaur, a long-extinct prehistoric flippered sea reptile, which had long been suspected of having an active colony in Scotland's Loch Ness. The truth may be somewhere in between. After all, it's perfectly plausible that there are a number of large sea animals that science simply hasn't discovered yet, but it definitely looks like the type of animal you'd rather encounter dead on the beach than alive in the ocean. You probably don't associate the frozen Russian province of Siberia with beaches, but there are plenty, only not the kind you'd want to visit to go sunbathing. It's strange to see sandy beaches covered with ice and snow, but an occurrence that took place near a village by the Gulf of Ob ratcheted the strange meter up to an 11. These are snowballs, thousands and thousands of them, all packed in neatly along an 11-mile stretch of beach, and they weren't made by the villagers for the annual all-village snowball fight. According to the Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute, they were formed naturally out of slush, which formed into frozen chunks, which were then blown along the coastline by strong winds. The result? Perfectly rolled snowballs, ranging in diameter from about the size of a tennis ball to whoppers 3 feet across. Nobody is sure how often the perfect conditions for this phenomenon to occur come about, but it can't be very often. One village resident said that even the old-timers who had lived there all of their lives had never seen it before. Storm Angus wreaked havoc on the UK in late 2016, blowing through with 80-mile-per-hour gusts and causing devastating flooding. Of course, the UK is accustomed to such rough wintertime weather, but nobody can remember ever before having seen an entire local starfish population suddenly relocated to the beach. Apparently, Angus caused waves strong enough that the creatures were dislodged from the seabed in vast numbers, then left stranded on South Sea Beach when the tide went out. Some local residents spent an afternoon trying to save as many as they could, carrying them in buckets back to the sea, but became discouraged when more just kept washing up. Thousands upon thousands of the critters died where they lay, and while Angus was responsible for only minimal human casualties, users on Twitter were referring to the situation on South Sea Beach as the Starfish Massacre. In the English town of Norfolk in early 2017, officials made an equally alarming and slightly more illegal discovery. On two separate beaches within a short distance of each other, an absolutely absurd amount of pure uncut cocaine washed ashore in several unassuming-looking duffel bags. The first stash was discovered by an anonymous member of the public who notified authorities, and the cops recovered the second shortly thereafter. All in all, the haul amounted to a staggering 360 kilos, with an estimated street value of 50 million pounds, or roughly 70 million American dollars. It's likely to have been ditched by air or seafaring smugglers. And while officials have been unable to determine where it came from or who it was intended for, one helpfully remarked that the public beach was probably not its intended destination. It's safe to say that if you came across a brightly colored 8-foot Lego man during your morning stroll on the beach, you'd probably first check to make sure that nobody had slipped anything into your coffee. But that's exactly what happened to Jeff Heinman, a Sarasota, Florida resident in 2011. Its front bore the printed message, "No real than you are," which seems to be missing a word or two. And on the back were the words Ego Leonard and the number 8. Baffled residents crowded around to take pictures with the 100-pound fiberglass sculpture, but they weren't baffled for long. Ego Leonard is a Dutch artist who is known for pulling stunts just like this in the past in his native Holland, and it didn't take authorities long to crack the extremely silly case. They briefly detained the Lego man until Mr. Leonard came forward to claim him, and it took him all of about 8 months to make another public appearance, washed up on the shore of LA County's Topanga Beach. Apparently he just can't resist catching a wave. Although video games have had a prominent rise since the mid-20th century, games in some form or another have been around for thousands and thousands of years, with the earliest known game of Senet depicted through hieroglyphs and paintings back to the year 3000 BC, and the oldest boards themselves discovered going back over 3,500 years. Games are at their very core designed to give fun and enjoyment to all players involved. However, in many games, there can only be one winner. And the game is, of course, more fun for the winner than the loser by default. That's why today we're here to talk to you about 10 secrets you should know to win at common games. Also known as noughts and crosses, tic-tac-toe has been around for thousands of years in one form or another. It has been traced back to as early as the year 1300 BCE, where a variant of a simple 3-in-a-row game was discovered to have been played on ancient...
Thanks for watching the video. Have a nice day.